My name is Sue Citro, and I'm the Chief Digital Officer with Best Friends Animal Society. I joined earlier this year, and I'm thrilled to be a part of the team. And I made a joke that because I had digital in my title, this whole presentation was going to be done by text. And the room actually laughed, and you didn't hear me, so I can tell that this is a great audience. So we're going to have some fun today. All right, so let's get started. We're going to talk about digital fundraising. Now, there's a couple people who said they sat in the front row because they like to geek out, and I completely geek out on digital fundraising. I love it. So the fact that there are so many of you here right now is very exciting. I will tell you, I did not always feel this way about fundraising. I actually vowed never to be a fundraiser. There are few things that I have ever vowed not to do, but that was one of them. I'll tell you, I was in college. I was working with university students. I was a university student myself, and we were working to build the first university-funded and built Habitat for Humanity home in Washington, D.C. We were really excited to be approached about the project. We were told we'd have to raise $160,000, and I thought, we got this. I was a Girl Scout. I sold tons of cookies, right? I had done car washes in junior high with like wax on, wax off from the Karate Kid, like killed it. We got this. Well, after about $3,800 and the rest of the way to go, the panic sets in, right? It's hard to fundraise. It's really hard. We wrote grants because we were all different universities working together on this in DC. And that was really exciting. But I would wake up in the middle of the night, panicked that I had misspelled the name of the person the grant went to. I hadn't, but I still would wake up night after night worried about it. So we were getting closer to our funding goal, but we weren't quite there yet. And like all good fundraisers, when you're not sure what to do, you do a golf tournament, right? Who likes golf? Okay, I do not like golf. It is many years later, and I am still suffering from PTSD from that event. Okay? It rained so hard. Not like nice, happy rain. I mean rained. From the waist down, my khakis were so green, I looked like Kermit the Frog. It was horrible. The umbrella, it didn't just, fold up like umbrellas do. The whole thing flew away. It was horrible. And so I vowed to never be a fundraiser. Years later, I started in internet and email marketing, and these devices, tablets, computers, they were amazing. I just kept thinking about how this could have helped me back then, how it could have made me a better fundraiser, how I could have actually raised money faster and smarter instead of harder. And so that's what I'm excited to be here with all of you today to talk about, how these little devices, which sometimes get in the way, like if you have a high school student who's walking around like this, you haven't seen their face in weeks, but how they can also help us for other things, like raise funds. I'd love to get a sense of just where you are with digital fundraising today, so we're going to take a quick poll. Up on the screen, it says, I don't understand. What is so cool about being online? How many of you would say that's kind of where your digital fundraising program is today? There's no judgment, no wrong answers. All right, very good. Well, we're gonna work to change that today. How about this, choice B? I'm doing it. I got a donation form, but I have no idea really what I'm doing. I want to sharpen my skills. Maybe I've got email down or social down, but it's a little rocky. Can I see the show of hands again? Okay, all right. And then finally, this photo. This is from the SPCA of Los Angeles from a few years ago. And I have to say, I've always liked the photo. You might not be able to tell, but in the middle there on the iPad is a little virtual mouse. And as the cat swats at it, the cat paints. And these paintings were then sold for fundraising. To me, this cat is like all in. Like, I am about digital fundraising. I'm doing it. I might not be raising as much as I want, but I'm really here to grow the program. How many people would say that's where they're at? All right, very good. Well, we're going to have some fun. So here's the good news. Whether you picked bird, dog, or cat, what matters is what you start doing today. Don't be alarmed if you saw a lot of cat hands go up, if you're a bird person. It's not about that you're late. It's not about that this other organization's already got more fans or followers. What matters is what you do today. And so what I encourage and invite all of you to do while we're talking today about digital fundraising is think about the one thing that you hear today, whether it's from something from up here or from all of your colleagues here in the room, that you could go home and try within the next week, okay? And I invite all of you to do that. This morning we heard from the keynote speaker about small bets, and that's such a big part of digital fundraising. Trying something small, seeing if it works. If it does, can you repeat it? If it does, can you repeat it and get more money? If it doesn't work, what can you try different? So I invite all of you to think about what you can take home and we'll try in the next week. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on before we dig in here on digital fundraising tactics. Understanding the context of what's happening. I joked before about high school student with this in front of their face, right? I was talking to someone yesterday who said, I think my son had his braces off, but I actually don't know, because this is always in front of his face. And I laughed thinking she was kidding, but she was really serious. It's not just that younger people are taking and using media in the digital format more. There's a bigger context to talk about here. This is from Forrester Research, Age of the Customer, Age of the Consumer. If you have not read this, you can Google it, read a little bit more about it. It's fascinating. Good beach read. I'm not just saying that for the first row here who likes to geek out like me. What it talks about is how in the early 1900 to 1960, it was about manufacturing. It was about Ford and RCA and assembly lines. It was about getting products made so they could be shared with more, right? And then in 1960, it changed from assembly lines into distribution. UPS, Walmart, right? You didn't have to rely on just what was at your local store anymore. You could get things from just about anywhere. And then into the age of information, right? Google. You're out in a restaurant and you hear a song, you can instantly find out what it is. I remember really long car rides with my parents on family vacations where I'd love a song, and I'd have to wait till it was on the radio again to hear who it was. And while that was gratifying, because I now knew who the artist was, it wasn't because I was still in the car and it was like 4 hours later and we weren't yet on vacation, right? We don't have any of those issues because of the age of information. We can get that information right at our fingertips. And so since 2010, the research talks about that it's the age of the customer. The customers are empowered. It's not just that we're going to tell you that we had a good or bad experience at the restaurant. We're going to write a review. You're going to feel like you're sitting there with us, right? You're going to know everything I had, every bite my husband had, every bite my 10 friends had. We are empowered by these devices in a way that we have never been before. And in so many ways, that's a wonderful thing. But it also means that our donors are a little bit more demanding than they were before, right? And it's on us to figure out how we can work with the stories we're telling, talking about the impacts we're having, using these new tools and technology to help really drive that home. This is a survey that caught my eye. It was done by Bank of America. Today's show was talking about it not that long ago. That 91% of people, and this was not just millennials, this is across all generations, 91% say their smartphone is as important as their car and deodorant, right? Okay. A lot of things they would give up. Only 60% said coffee was important. I don't know about you, but I was kind of surprised by that number. There was one other number that surprised me. When they looked just at millennials, if it came down to the smartphone or the toothbrush, smartphone would win, right? 95% of millennials said if they had to make that choice, they'd choose their smartphone. I think that's remarkable. We use our toothbrushes twice a day, some more. This thing we've used for years could go away just like that, right? So our job is to figure out how we can still stay relevant in a world that's changing, where there's more choice, there's more access to information, and our donors and supporters and volunteers have more choice than ever before. And it's not just those who have smartphones already. I found this on Amazon. Yes, I was doing some shopping on Prime Amazon Day this week. And I'm glad you're all sitting down. There is the bouncy baby chair with the built-in iPad, right? This is a real product. It exists. And if you're surprised by that, there's the iPotty, right? Now think about your donors, right? This is their experience. Where are they going to be at in 20 years? It's not just about fundraising, right? I'm pretty intrigued by this. My house is a big soccer home. U.S. Women's World Cup, right? Rocked it a couple weeks ago. Yes. Very good. According to adweek.com, FIFA's YouTube channel had 19 million views a year ago during Men's World Cup. So what do you think for Women's World Cup on the YouTube channel? I know some of you will not agree with what I'm about to say. I don't agree with it, but men's soccer is more popular than women's soccer in terms of viewership. How many think the women got the same amount, 19 million views? Show of hands. Okay, some of you. How many think they got less? Okay. And how many think more? Okay, the more is the winner. 1 year later, women's soccer, 28 million views for FIFA on YouTube. That's a 47% increase. I want a 47% increase in my fundraising, right? And I know this is views, but it's part of what the opportunity is that's before us today. So let's talk about digital fundraising. These are the questions I usually get. How do I get started? How am I doing compared to others? What's new? There's something new. I know I've got to keep up with things. But I also get questions like this once programs are up and running. What are you testing? How do I do more tests? Mobile. It's my little guilty thing. I know I need to pay attention to mobile, but I haven't yet. How do I catch up? And then a lot of questions about engagement or loyalty. Which is more important? How can I use digital to cultivate donors so that they are more loyal and will continue giving to my organization? So let's talk about these questions. For those who are just getting started, there's a number of resources available online. This is one that I would say will be particularly useful, orgspring.com. They list out everything about the online donation process, what a payment gateway is, how to keep it secure, how to deal with things, whether you want to do credit card, debit card, EFT, what it all means. And for those who already have programs up and running, they have a really neat, regardless of where you are, resource available where they've looked at the 50, 60 payment gateways, payment programs that are out there. Not just for online donation forms, for shopping carts, for peer-to-peer fundraising. If there's one URL you write down today, orgspring.com/online-donations. They keep it up to date, which is part of the amazing part. And can you still hear me? All right, very good. Whenever I see people behind the curtain, I always wonder. All right. Once your form is live, this is what 95% of online donation forms look like today. What's the very next thing you need to do once your form is live, given where we are today? And this little thing that I keep holding up. That's right. Make sure it works on mobile. How many have mobile responsive donation forms today? All right, good number of you. This is what you want before Christmas. You want Santa to bring mobile responsive donation forms, okay? Before year-end fundraising, if there's one project you do, the amount of money this could potentially mean is growing. A lot of times I think we get caught up on what the form looks like, the emotion, and while that's important, the creative direction, getting on mobile is what really could be a game changer. I know today mobile donations are still small, but the amount of growth happening, it's so close to that tipping point. And I think year-end fundraising and Giving Tuesday and a few other things coming will really play a role. So let's talk about testing a little bit. I mentioned this form. It's pretty. I would much rather give to a form that looks like this. And once your form is up and running, there's so many things you can test into. I don't want anyone without a form to think this is really hard or a big project. The most important thing is to get a form live if you don't have one, so that you can start to take advantage of online donations. And once you do and you see the dollars come in, like those who feel like the cat, you're continually testing, right? Continuing trying to figure out what imagery, what text, what positioning is going to help you raise more funds. Who likes to test? Okay. Not too many hands. This can become very addictive, and it's fun. Thinking about the user experience of your site and of your donation forms in particular. It's a balance act of making sure they're usable for folks, along with the look and the feel. TheNextWeb.com's Ultimate Guide to UX Tools lists so many resources. We all could probably each take one and test something different on our donation form. If you're looking for tools to figure out what maybe you could use to test, that would be the place I'd say to start. Usability Hub, Crazy Egg, or two others. We use them pretty regularly at Best Friends. Usability Hub allows you to, with real people, very quickly show them different designs and ask them to vote. Which one would they be more likely to donate to? Can you find the donate button on this design? And see how long it took them. It's a great way to get in-the-moment feedback for very low cost. So we're going to take a little test right now. When we were making our donation forms mobile responsive, these donation forms look very similar. The only difference is the headline. Donate. Your gift today helps save more lives. On the left, that headline's above the photo, and on the right, it's below. Which do you think is going to do better? How many say on the left? Okay, and how many say on the right? Okay. Why did you say on the right? I'm putting you on the spot. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Aspect first. Oh, sorry. To have the most emotional aspect first is probably the best, but I'm not sure.
Well, that is the one that did better. 95% likely to be statistically significant. And it ties to how we view everything on the web. We're drawn to pictures. And once we look at pictures, we tend to look at what's right underneath them. Sometimes I cringe that the photo credit has the best positioning on the page, right? Think about your calls to action. Think about the words that you're going to use underneath photos. They can make a real difference in terms of getting more people to actually see the call to action, which means more people will then give. And that's a lot of what I do. I look at things that we're doing and try to think, how can we get more money out of it? Just like all of you do. How can we increase the average gift? How can we get a little bit higher conversion rate? How many have seen this eye tracking study before? Couple people. Okay. Eye tracking allows you to take and see when someone's on your web page, on your form, where they're looking and what they actually see. On the left-hand side, you can see that red spot on the baby's face. That red is the highest concentration of where people are looking. Okay? Then people saw the yellow, and some people saw the green. If there's not red, yellow, or green, really wasn't seen as people were looking at the page. Now, we've talked a lot about showing pictures of animals with faces, with eyes, right, that take and gravitate towards you and look right at you. And there's definitely something to be said for that, because we're going to look at their eyes. But there's also something to be said in very strategic places to use a photo that's more like the image on the right, to have the eyes look towards your donate button, okay? A lot of us have pictures of animals that are looking slightly down. Where that animal looks, put your donate button in that ad. You'll see your click-through rates go up. And you can see, if you look on the right, there's more red spots in the headline, right? People saw more of the words that were important to this ad. That's the fun of digital fundraising. Once you're up and running, you can have a lot of fun and work to grow the amount of revenue you're raising. I see a smile over there. I can tell there's a fellow tester. Any questions on what we've talked about so far? Anyone stuck on anything? No? Do people now think testing's cool? A few more hands? All right, I'll take that as a win. So let's talk about the other question. How am I doing? How many of you have had a conversation like this with a board member or a leader? I was on Pinterest. I saw UNICEF did a Mother's Day campaign. And then I saw Oxfam did one. What are we doing? Right? We have to keep up with the Joneses. We have to launch a new campaign. And there's definitely something to be said for that. But there's so many more resources available for you to benchmark your online fundraising program against. M&R puts out a benchmark study every year, just came out a couple months ago. And they actually just created some great tools where you can actually put your numbers, your email open rate, your click-through rate, your average gift size in and actually see your numbers compared to the average across the 84 nonprofits that participated. There's even benchmarks now, not just about what's happening with mobile and nonprofits, but specifically for fundraisers in terms of mobile stats. I don't think there's enough that I could say about mobile. You know, it hasn't taken off yet, and I think part of it really has a lot to do with the payment methods we have currently. I think our approach often is, how do we take and have someone stick that credit card into our devices, right? I heard someone joke once, maybe like floppy disks, we could just have a little thing on the side and you'd stick your card in, right? We try to have the fundraising we're doing in other channels or other programs kind of fit into this. Think about what the unique role is that these devices, that digital fundraising offers you, what you can do with it that you can't do in the other channels, and focus on growing that. 2 apps that have just come out recently in the last year. One's called Give. And what it does is, for those who don't have a mobile responsive website, if the donors downloaded the app, every nonprofit's listed, and so they can use the form and make a donation through their devices. Again, I'd say it's great we have it, right? It definitely will help for those donors who have downloaded it. But not all donors have downloaded it, right? And once you're on it, you're filling out a form just like if you had told them to go over to your website. I was joking with our CEO, who, as you all heard, is from the UK, that I'm in love with what the UK has just done. And he, of course, said, of course, it was from the UK, without knowing what it was. But it's that app in the upper right, Snap Donate. What they've just done is you use the camera on your phone, and you take a picture of any charity logo you see that you want to donate to. Doesn't matter. In the elevators here, could have been the big sign, could be a piece of paper. Take a picture of that logo, and it knows who you want to donate to. And then it just says how much. You type in 10, hit the button, you've just donated 10 pounds, right? Think about what this can do at events, what this can do for you, maybe where someone doesn't have internet access, but they have their phone working through the network. That's where this is going. And I think it's remarkable to think about where we'll be in terms of digital at the conference next year. Is anyone going to the UK in the near future and check it out? All right. Mastercard. Mastercard is trying to make the selfie useful. What they're doing is thinking about, as you use Mastercard through your mobile device to pay for things, instead of signing your name, you would take a selfie, right? That would be your signature. And I wondered if it was really, if it's kind of an Onion article or if they were serious. But they're really serious. They've been thinking it through and trying it. And they've thought it through to the point of you actually would have to blink twice while you're taking your selfie so that they know it's actually you and not like I've, held up a picture of my husband and now it's on his card, right? So they're really thinking it through. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. But all these things, right, they offer us an opportunity to work differently with our donors, to make it easier for our donors to give to our causes, to make it easier to raise more funds, which is so critical because at the end of the day, more revenue means more lives saved. So let's talk about some of the things that are new. I know we've touched on a couple, but the biggest one to me is what the World Retail Banking Report said last year to all of its banks. Basically said, we're going to go out of business. People don't like us. They don't need us. They don't like that we charge $3 when they try to take out their own money at an ATM machine. How are we going to make them like us more? Imagine if we didn't have banks. And I don't say that to try to not be useful, right? I don't want you to go back home and say, I want to do digital fundraising, but I have to think about there not being banks. That's not where I'm going with this, right? But it's that it's changing, and it continues to change every day. So trying that one thing that I've invited you to try in the next week will help you figure out another piece to the puzzle so you can make sure that this channel is driving more and more revenue for you. Banks are listening. One just announced last month that they're going to start trying ATMs to collect donations. So you're in there taking out money for the weekend, and you can also put in $50 to go to a charity. Or maybe you have a welcome center or an event. You could have an ATM there where people would put in their ATM card and just donate to you. Money wouldn't come out. Instead, it would go into your bank account. How cool would that be? I see some people in the back scribbling down. I think they have a lot of events, right? Yeah, okay. We just tried #donate on social media, on Facebook. Has anyone tried this yet? A couple people? Okay. In the comments on a post, you can put #donate if you're using this service, and then put a dollar amount that you're willing to donate. So we did a campaign where it looks like Michelle was the last person to comment. She put #donate 15 Melvin. She wanted to donate $15 to us and also name a kitten in the Name a Kitten, Save a Kitten campaign we were doing, and she'd name him Melvin. What happens is she instantly gets a comment back that says, thank you, Michelle, for pledging $15. Here's where you can go to finish your donation. Now, it also will send a comment once she does it. So there's a little bit of public shaming if you don't do it. And once you do it once, you're registered. You don't have to go anywhere else ever again. You can set it up to say, every time I use this, just charge the same card. Or every time I put hashtag donate in a comment, if I don't put a dollar amount, charge this amount. It's taking that unique role that we do in social, right, of sharing, liking, commenting, the things we know how to do and we do well in Facebook, and using them to improve our fundraising. And this is so important because the more we can meet our donors where they are, okay, I would love everyone to come through bestfriends.org and donate on the exact form with the exact tracking pixel I put in place, right? But philanthropy is a conversation happening everywhere. And the more that we can make sure we're there and we're part of the conversation, ultimately the more dollars we're going to raise. I was really struck by this study, according to Havas, and they've done this study for years. They've always said that trust is what's the most important thing for your brand. How many of you, show of hands, have heard that before? Okay. Well, this is the first year that they've come out and said, we know you could count on that statement, that trust is what it's all about. Right? You can bank on that the way you were taught to look both ways before crossing the street. We're going to actually change that, okay? Trust is not enough anymore. It's about being meaningful. And I love the way that they summed up. People want brands to improve their lives and the lives of the people they care about. Think about how digital can help you do that, right? Because if through digital you can help people improve their lives, improve the lives of the people they care about, have meaningful experiences for the animals that are part of their family, the cats and dogs they care about, right? They're going to be loyal. They're going to stay. This is a study from 2008. And I know a digital person putting a study up from 2008, it's like dog years. It's probably bad juju. But if you haven't read the Wired Wealthy report or you haven't read it since 2008, Google it. It's free. You'll probably have to put in Convio, Sea Change Strategies, or Edge Research along with the Wired Wealthy because it's probably a little bit buried. But that's exactly what the report concluded, right? We all know that. Our donors want to understand the impact they're having. And this report, this research that was done with middle and major donors, basically asked them, what kind of experience do you want to have online? What is it that you need to see or feel in order to keep giving to us? And that's what they said then, right? And that's what the Meaningful Brand Study is showing now. How can we use digital to not just ask for donations, right? But how can we cultivate and steward our donors using these tools to raise more funds? What is it that you're going to do to try to show that impact to your donors in a way that only you can online? In our kitten campaign that I was talking about a moment ago, we did this email this past week. And we basically said, A1563170, the new name is Nico. You did that. This kitten has a name, right? You can see firsthand that your donation to us is making a difference for Fletcher, for Atticus, for many more cats. Think about the creative way that you can use digital so everybody can see which kitten that they donated and tried to name is named. What number was just a number that's now a name, right? How can they see that impact of their donation? You wouldn't be able to do that in other channels, right? Imagine the big scroll you would get of every number, right, sent by mail. It would be too cost prohibitive. But take advantage of that unique role that digital gives you to post things, right, to provide updates on the fly. We have a section of our website, Diaries of the Animals. And no matter where we move it around on our website, people find it, they comment on it, they want to know how that dog or cat is doing today and what happened since last week when it played with the ball, right? They want to understand that impact each and every day that they're having for the animals. And I think all of us as fundraisers have such an opportunity with digital to help bridge that gap for our donors. This is a campaign that the Nature Conservancy does. And it's a little bit different. Instead of putting the onus on us to report back the impact, it comes at it a little bit different. The Nature Conservancy asked one simple question, just one question. It's not a question you're going to find on their homepage. You only can find it after you donate. And it's very small on that thank you page. But the question is, share why you gave today. Just tell us that. And I'm going to go back here behind the podium and just read a little bit about it. Diana from Seattle talked about how she flies every 2 weeks to Asia, and she thought this would be a way to help alleviate that burden. Janet talked about how she donated in honor of her beloved stepbrother, Brett. He was a sportsman and outdoorsman, and she shared some of his reading and writing from an adventure he had had. She talked about how even though he's gone, when she reads his words from his blog, she feels like she's right there with him on some of these nature adventures. And probably my favorite one, from Carol in Michigan. And here's what Carol said. She said, "There's a saying I love that inspires me. The human spirit needs places where nature has not been rearranged by the hand of man. One does not find peace and serenity in the middle of a shopping mall. If I had the financial means to buy up all the vacant lots from developers, I would. So I do what I can to help by making donations." Now, I know some of you are sitting there thinking, all right, this is pretty good content. I could include it in the magazine. I could do some testimonials. Maybe we'd get some information that would help us attract other donors. But there's something much larger going on here. These donors have just written down their commitment to nature, right? They've shared the very personal reason why they've given. And when people write down their commitment, they want to honor that, and they're more likely to. So where the magic of this is, besides inspiring people today and giving fodder to our marketing communications, it's also in renewal time, right? And as fundraisers, that's one of our favorite times, okay? They're going to want to renew that commitment. And you have the ability through digital to remind them the beautiful words that they said. So these nudges are something that digital allows us to do that we otherwise couldn't do. Now, I know to a certain extent, right, this is good fundraising. You have to ask in order to raise funds. But digital allows us to have this be just the start. I think sometimes we miss the ball a little bit. We take and we say, all right, we're going to get some new donors. And I'm sorry, when I saw this online, I had to put it up here. For those in the back, it's Lionel Richie, and he says, "Hello, is it leads you're looking for?" I mean, how perfect is that? We get those leads, right? It's part of our plan. We're going to bring in new leads. And then we panic. What do we do with them? What's the plan? We got the leads, but we don't have the gifts yet. What are we going to do? And it's true, right? Those donors better brace because the emails are coming, right? Thought this was a clever campaign at an adoption event. How many know that song, "Call Me Maybe," right? Mm-hmm. It's clever. But it's thinking that through. What is that next step, right? What is the next thing you want that donor to encounter? You don't want to be like Target that started sending me emails for Pampers and men's shoes and, everything other than what I really wanted. How great is it that when this person gets in touch with you, they can talk specifically about the dog that interests them most? So that's the key to digital fundraising, no matter whether you're a bird or a dog or a cat. ask yourself what's next. And ask yourself what you want to have be next for your donor before you do anything with them, right? So with the kitten campaign, we said, all right, what do we want to have happen once this email goes out? I mean, how cute are those kittens, right? We want to make sure that if you're a non-donor, you continue to see how cute those kittens are, right? It's undeniable, adorable. And if you're a donor, we want your next touch point to be that you feel like you are there in Los Angeles with us at the kitten nursery, right? We created a video where you can see different vets taking the heartbeat of some of the kittens, what it looks like for feeding, how messy it is, right? It's your backstage pass. And that's really the opportunity that we have today. And I think there's some amazing and clever campaigns coming out of animal welfare, more so than other sectors. And if nothing else, we've got to keep that up and step up our game. Right. So, I know I could have just put this up in the beginning. I didn't have to say anything, right? Yeah. So as you leave here today, and first we're going to have some fun talking about your fundraising programs in the digital space. I want you to think about these 3 kittens always. I named them as part of the Name a Kitten, Save a Kitten campaign. The first one I named Engagement. I heard from the animal care worker. That's really a bad name, Sue. So it's now Mr. Engagement, right? How can you take and use digital to engage your donors, to give them that backstage pass to whatever they just supported or whatever they might support going forward? The one in the middle in orange, obviously retention, right? He's not going to roll anywhere, not going anywhere. So his name is Play It Again, Sam, right? And the last one, loyalty. Because when we do this right, when we use the unique role of digital in our fundraising, in our cultivation, in our stewardship, and we pay attention to engagement and retention, our donors will be able to feel at home, like the little kitten on the right who's taking a snooze. And that's what it's about. Because we need as many donors as we can get to raise as much revenue as possible so we can save them all. So on behalf of my rescue, Roddy Brody, which I have to tell you, he's part of our family because of a caring person like you who drove all the way from New Hampshire down to Miami-Dade County, picked him up, along with other Roddies and Pit Bull Terriers, drove him all the way back. And what's amazing is I think she's actually sitting here, and I did not know that. Yes, so thank you. Yeah, stand up, stand up. Yes, yes. Very cool. And I seriously didn't know Dale was at the conference. I'm embarrassed. It's day 2, and I haven't seen you yet. Right? But when I think about what Dale does, all the dogs, they don't know where they're going. Just driving that many states with my husband is a nightmare, and he doesn't have 4 paws. That's the hard part. You're already doing the hard part. So wherever you are with digital fundraising, I promise it's easier than that, okay? For those of you still suffering from PTSD of programming a VCR, it's easier, okay? We've come a long way. I'm getting a big hook back there, big 0. But thank you for coming today.